Hello, welcome to Real Person Reviews. I'm Sam, and I'm a real person. And today I want to talk to you about, well, it's Call of Duty Black Ops 4, but once again they decided that who needs a title screen, right? And yeah, basically it's the fourth installment in this series. You probably know the drill by now, but if you are unfamiliar with the Black Ops games up until this point, you might want to go back and check the reviews I did for, the first three games, as they're kind of going to build kind of off of some of that here for this review. Also, this review is going to be a little bit different because if you'll recall, in Black Ops 3, they had those versions made for PS3 and Xbox 360 that were basically just only online play. They got rid of the single player stuff on them. For Black Ops 4, all of the games are that. There is no campaign mode in here, so there's not a campaign mode to talk about. But what we will talk about are basically these three different modes here. I'm just going to go through each one and try to film some footage for each thing, instead of going through, like, here's all the stuff, and then trying to be, like, the usual formula of doing this. I'll just do it per mode and hopefully have corresponding footage there. That's the plan, that's the hope, that's the dream. Because the three modes here are a regular online multiplayer, there's a zombies mode, and there's a new blackout mode. So we'll be talking about all those, and of course judging it on me playing it now in 2025 for the first time for a game that came out in 2018, and it might be a bit different than people who reviewed it when it came out. Just full disclosure so you're aware of what's going on. So let's try to jump into this. So let's start, I guess, with the multiplayer. Before I do this, I will quickly mention there is a little tutorial mode you can go through to learn about classes, because the classes that they're back. The specialist, I guess, are from the previous game. Specialists make a return once again, and this time around, basically all of these specialists have a special ability and a special piece of equipment. And usually your teams can only have, they're limited to, depending on your modes, usually limited to like one of each specialist per mode. So basically, both your special ability and your special equipment will slowly charge up over time as the match goes, and you can use those when you see fit. So different classes have different abilities, like there's, I guess you'll just kind of see, but like, you can try to heal stuff, or like whether it's like weapons or like, support stuff, things like that. There's a bunch of different things that you can do. With the idea being they're trying to like make it more organized, like, oh yeah, like it's a team dynamic, make it more like a class-based shooter of sorts in that way. But the pick 10 system comes back for your loadouts, and you also have the ability to, along with all the stuff you're picking, you can actually grab a piece of equipment, whatever, like instead of using whatever the specialist's equipment is, because you don't necessarily know which one you're going to be able to lock in your matches every time. Depending on how the team goes, you can actually opt out of having the specialist's special piece of equipment and actually have something more particular. There's a set of things you can just pick, just have that every time, and then the specialist will just determine your, ability that charges up over time. Which I want to say right away, for these things already is kind of it kind of ruins some of what's going on here, because basically it feels like they half-baked a hero shooter. They want to be like, here's our like hero class-based shooter thing, like, some other popular stuff. But Overwatch, this ain't. And it ultimately just feels like whichever hero you pick is really like whatever specialist you pick feels like you're just deciding what basically whatever extra perk you're getting, right? It almost feels like another like piece of like the pick 10, whatever, create a class system, because it's only like really one or sometimes two things really changes between them other than the aesthetic, and that can be kind of frustrating. So they definitely half-bake that. It mostly just feels like Call of Duty online stuff, but without the wall running and the jetpacks and stuff, so it's not quite as mobile. I do kind of like that they have the new thing now where you don't automatically regenerate health. You have to use a little like stim pack thing or whatever, like a little like shot you give yourself. And that has a little bit of a cooldown, and that can be like stopped. Like certain things have like side effects that'll make it so you can't use that heal on yourself. I think that's a neat addition to things. It makes it a little harder. So you can't just like keep running away or just like duck and like wait and like you're fine. You have to also do that as another piece, and it makes you more vulnerable. I kind of like that addition. it's not like it's amazing or anything, or that I'm like, it totally changes everything. But like, I do kind of like the little extra bit there to like be more like actively like healing yourself and doing that, prioritizing that when it's necessary to do. I kind of like that. Um, a lot of the modes here return. And I don't know if there's even much for new modes. The only mode I can think of that's actually new for these typical like modes you're playing are things like I think Control might be the only new one that I'm aware of, where Control is kind of like a domination type thing, where essentially they're the 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 offensive team has to go and try to capture these two different points, and the defending team is trying to keep them from doing that. Um, Unlike something like domination, though, you also have a limited amount of lives to work with. And the idea is that when you're trying to capture these points, the 2 points, the objective A and B, both have like 3 sections in them. So you're still standing next to them and trying to occupy them long enough, uncontested, to like, capture them. And once you hit like you're there long enough, it fills up one of the 3 sections. And then the second one and the third one, and each one is like locked in. So once you fill up one section, then you don't have to like worry about it. You're just like trying to get back in and fill up the rest of it, rather than doing the entire thing in one go. Is the idea. But also there's limited lives, so you can also win either by you basically usually win either. I think there might still be time limit too. I never really hit it if there was. So you'll probably either win either from getting all the things, or from eliminating all the enemies, so they don't have enough lives to respawn anymore. You just kill all of the enemy combatants from that life pool. I do kind of like this as a new take on like domination thing. There's a little more interesting there. Gives you more of a way to, and it's a little more one-sided, I guess, too. But like I don't know, I do like the little tweaks on that. I think that's a cool mode. Sadly, this mode is one where not every mode can be played. I think actually maybe you can play this one with bots. Not every mode can be played with bots. A lot of them can, but a few of them can't. And I don't know necessarily why that is, but some of them can't be played with bots. That's a little weird. But there are bots here at least, so that is some future-proofing there a little bit. I guess also I should mention it with the tutorial stuff. There's like little like video things you can watch for like backstory things, but also they don't really matter because it's not like telling a big overarching story. There's not a campaign, so unlocking all of the video clips requires doing a bunch of challenges and things in multiplayer and stuff anyways, so do with that what you will. But as not really much of a story guide anyways, if there's no campaign, I don't really care. It doesn't mean anything for this. And the only other thing I think I really need to mention about the general multiplayer mode stuff here is the fact that at this point in time it's hard to find matches. Team deathmatch is pretty easy to find them in still, and whatever the highlighted mode is, the featured mode of the day or whatever the time period is, whatever that is, you can find that pretty easily. But other than that, you better be playing at the right time of day on the right days, or know people that are playing, because otherwise it's hard to get games off the ground. And as time goes forward, I assume that's only going to get harder and harder. You're going to be relying more and more on bots to do that kind of thing. I should also mention quickly, there's also the league play option, which is basically like regular multiplayer, but the main difference here being that there's like league, like actual professional playing rules, tournament rules. So there's restrictions on certain like maps and weapons and attachments and whatever. So I think that's a neat idea, to be able to play that like in a way that feels more balanced and fair with all this other stuff unlocked that you would be able to use in that play. But again, at this point in time, it's pretty pointless, because if there's not a ladder or anything running, there's no reason to play. And with how few people are still playing this game, does that ranking really mean anything anymore? Probably not. Not what it used to. So it's more or less an even sadder extension of the online. So then we got zombies, and that makes a return here. And you get 3 maps right out of the gate with this. And zombies mode here is, there are a few different modes you can play in for zombies as well this time around. There's a classic survival mode. There's also, just how many waves you survive, whatever, until you lose. There's also a rush mode, which is meant to be kind of more fast, score attack kind of thing. So everybody goes in and just tries to see how quickly they can kill zombies to keep building up multipliers, get a bunch of points. And perks and item boxes and stuff are like free. The doors open up as You hit certain point thresholds, and you can go to more areas, and so it's just kind of competing for the highest score, either a personal best or trying to do better than everyone else in the scuffle. Um, and yeah, meant to be a more fast, arcadey kind of like mode to play on. Um, Neat idea, I guess, but I wasn't super for it. But I get it. One mode that it is kind of cool is they have Gauntlet, which basically is you playing with your group, and each wave has an objective with it. It might be like only use this weapon, or don't use these items, or try to do this task. Something you're supposed to do as a restriction or a task or something throughout the round. And the idea is you're trying to complete every wave, completing all of your tasks. If you fail to do that task or die during the round, then that's a strike. 3 strikes and you're out, and that's game over. So there is a win condition to get all of those. That is an interesting idea. I like that. It does add a little more variety to this of doing these things. I do kind of like that idea. Also, for some more general stuff here, they do for this stuff. You can level up as you're killing zombies and stuff and unlock more things. So you actually have loadouts you can do if you create a class thing for this. You have these temporary items you can use that are on a cooldown thing that you can assign these temporary power-ups. You'll unlock more of those as you level up. You can decide which perks you want to have come out of which machines or statues or whatever. And again, you get more of those as you go along. You can also customize weapons to have certain attachments and visuals to them. So when you find them in the game, they have those, and the more you use those, the more you can unlock stuff for those as well. So there's definitely this grinding element. You're also going to pick these special weapons you can use that get more powerful as you use them more in each round, and also your equipment on a cooldown timer, building them up instead of just getting them or something. So there's a bit more customization here and a bit more progression to the zombies mode this time around. And the 2 things I want to say also, well, I guess I'll also mention quick, the maps, not amazing maps. I think they're maybe a little they're okay. They're not super memorable or awesome, but they're not terrible maps or anything. I think that, and the rounds I think flow, especially the earlier rounds are pretty swift and they flow together nicely, so it doesn't feel like you're waiting forever to get into the good stuff. But at the same time, I don't like that, again, barricading things feel pointless because they can also, pretty much every map has areas where enemies just kind of jump in that you can't block off anyways, so why even bother trying to do that? You're mostly trying to run around and loop enemies around most of the time. There's not as many places to stand and fight them or make your final I'm gonna hold out here kind of place. So again, a lot of times it feels less like you're getting overwhelmed by zombies when you lose, and more so usually it's everybody just kind of gets caught off guard somewhere and then they're done. It's a little better here, but it's still they could work on it, I think. But the 2 things I think are really awesome about Zombies mode this time around are that, number 1, there's bots. So you can actually play a full game by yourself with bots. Not necessarily ideal, because the AI is what it is, but, and it's also not what it's not. But at least you have that option to still do. There's more people taking fire for you and stuff. I think that's cool. That's a nice touch, and I'm glad they finally added that. The other thing, though, is custom mutations, and this is awesome, because custom mutations allows you to change a shitload of things, tweak up all kinds of things about this, in how you want things to happen, how frequently do item boxes appear, how many uses per round, how strong or fast are zombies, what kind of stuff shows up and what doesn't, how do doors work, how does this happen, you have lots of control and multiple levels of things to control through tons of aspects here. And this allows you to create, challenges. You can make it really easy or really difficult, just an interesting challenge for yourself, and make it just the way you want it to be, as bare bones or as complex as you want it to be. You can also, which probably some of my favorite parts about this, are that you can also set limits on things like a time limit, a kill limit, or even a wave limit, so you can create win conditions for yourself. Be okay, can I do this, instead of how long can I last until I die or get bored. So I think those are really, really good for replay value, especially if you have people to play with to try and create your own challenges and beat those challenges. This adds an amazing amount of replay value, and I hope that every other game I see going forward from when this came out has those options, because those are phenomenal, and that's probably one of the best things I can say about the zombie mode that I haven't seen in any of the other zombie modes, is that having these things in here are huge, especially for replay value. This is really, really big. So I'll definitely give it props for that. Now the final mode here is Blackout, and this is a new mode. where quick tidbit, apparently they were working on a campaign for this, and people didn't like it during playtesting. They didn't have enough time to actually do another campaign, so we got this blackout mode as sort of a a consolation. Like, well, we got something in here. And this is your battle royale mode. It is the prototype of Warzone, basically, where you go in and you drop in this big map. You drop in from these helicopters. You can play like solo, duos, or quads. You drop in, you land somewhere, and then you start picking up stuff: guns, ammo, attachments, you know. And med kits and armor and all this stuff is just kind of scattered around for supplies. You have to go and scrounge around, find things, load yourself up, get yourself ready. And there's like an area around the outside of the map that's like the safe zone or whatever. It like slowly shrinks in. If you're outside of that safe zone, you start taking damage pretty rapidly until you die. So it kind of like slowly pushes everyone towards the center of the map. And it's a survival thing where basically you want to be the last man standing or the last group standing. And so you're trying to, essentially do the little, survival mode that forces people to go in and actually fight each other thing. And like you're used to for something like Fortnite or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, it's like that, right? That's probably why they did this, is that was a popular thing going on. So they're like, we'll throw that in with our Call of Duty core gameplay, which already is good. Let's make that into that kind of thing. And I guess it's nice. It's better than just not having the third mode, I guess. But I do find some issues with it. Like, I think that what's tough is that, like, a lot of what gets praised about Call of Duty's core gameplay here is that it's very fast, it's very fluid. So you're taking this really quick combat stuff, and, like, it just is kind of mashed against the Battle Royale thing, because like gathering stuff is kind of cool in like a survival thing or like something that's like more of a long form story thing where you're progressing and building up. But you start the match off and you spend a lot of the time basically running around grabbing supplies, running towards the center where you're not going to be in danger of the boundaries killing you, and then essentially you can spend like 10-15 minutes doing all this shit, and then have one encounter with someone that like kills you in a matter of seconds. You might get downed if you're like in a group and they can maybe revive you, but if they totally kill you, then you're gone. There are certain variations of this where the maps are smaller and there's some modes of respawning as well, so it's a little more action-packed and to the point and for less players, because the big map is for up to 100 players max. But yeah, it just feels like these two things don't really go well together. And it's also some of my own personal bias here. I guess I just don't really like this type of thing because I'm not very good. So unless I get super lucky, I'm never going to win one of these. So yes, you spend a lot of time. Here's like a majority of your time is spent picking up shit, running to safety, and then just hunkering down, waiting for people to show up so you can surprise attack them, hopefully. That's a lot of what I experienced here. And while that can be fun, it's not the kind of thing that I'm into. So again, better than nothing, but I wouldn't say that necessarily makes it good. So overall, what I'm getting at here with Black Ops 4 is that it's kind of just a victim of its circumstance, of its age and its place within this franchise. I mean, like, this is to say nothing of the whole, there's season passes and content packs and loot boxes. And they had to throw all that shit in there, and they still didn't make enough money on this like they wanted to somehow, which is crazy. But at this point, it's just, like I say, it's a victim of circumstance of being just smashed in the series where there's no campaign to come back to like almost every other Call of Duty has. The sad defining factor of this is like, oh yeah, that's the one without a campaign. That's not really a good thing, but it is a footnote. It is a footnote in the history of Call of Duty to say that, I guess. That's its claim to fame, its identifier. But like, yeah, the half-baked class-based shooter thing, it just didn't really pan out. And I think that if you want to play, the blackout mode, you have Warzone. You can just do that with more people. If you want to play general online, again, newer Call of Duty games will have a larger player base, more people to play with. So it's kind of pointless for some of that. Zombies, if you like the custom thing, I guess we'll see how zombies things going forward if they have that ability as well. It's a fine zombies mode. I don't know if it's the best zombies mode, and I don't know if it makes the thing worth $60 just to play that zombies mode. And when it's not on sale, they still want $60 for this, by the way. That hurts. I'm glad I got it on sale, so I didn't have to pay that, because that would have hurt me if I had to do that. And yeah, it's just like kind of stuck in like there's not really a reason to pick this up over a number of other Call of Duty games that do these same things, but do them either better or do just more or both. And I'm sure, like, to be fair, it gets a lot of undue hate because it didn't have a campaign in it. I'm sure that when it actually was first new and came out, that it was a lot of fun to play, and you could jump into all the modes and do all the things, and that was cool. It also gets a lot of undue love, where a lot of people look at this and they're like, this is the last classic Call of Duty before they changed the engine for the Modern Warfare in 2019, and everything was like different after that. They made major changes. But I don't think that necessarily makes it good just because it's in that engine. And so I think that this game is a pretty, like, it's not a bad game, it's just a victim of circumstance. It's I keep saying that, but that's how I feel. And it's sad, and it's, like I say, not a bad game, but it's not worth getting. Unless you're really into Call of Duty and want to see this like historical thing in the series, get it cheap. Wait for it to be very cheap, and then consider it. Because it's definitely not worth $60. I think if you want to get this, shoot for $10, $15, $20 at most, to check it out a bit. I think most other Call of Duty games will give you a lot more to replay and enjoy more than this game. And it story-wise doesn't do much either. It's just there's not much here that if you missed out on this one, you're not missing much. And if you do enjoy this game, if you love this game, then by all means keep playing it until you can't play it anymore. Cherish the time you have left with it. I don't want to take that away from anyone, but ultimately this is probably, so far, out of all the games I've reviewed for Call of Duty games, this is easily the worst of the bunch. And that's not to say that it's even all that bad. A lot of these Call of Duty games have been pretty good. So it's mostly saying that this one has issues that I can't ignore, even though there's really good core gameplay underneath everything here. There are so many like wrong decisions made here, and so much like lack of accessibility anymore. There's lack of like being able to even utilize a lot of this game meaningfully. Nobody wants to play, nobody wants to buy Call of Duty bot battles the entire game. That's not what people want to play Call of Duty for. They want a campaign, and they want online, and they want zombies, and this delivers basically one of those things at this point. And it does okay at it. So do with that what you will. But I will say I am excited to check out Cold War, because I have heard mixed things about that, but it has a campaign, and boy, like I say, after all this, I'm sorely missing a campaign. I really just want to play a campaign again in Call of Duty after the miserable time of trying to find matches and finding nothing for a lot of this game, and just it's been a thing. It's been a day. It's been a week. So I'll see you soon for that one, and hopefully that goes okay and people don't look at me like I'm just like, oh, you're just I was gonna say shill. I don't know if that's even the right word. They're paying you to say these, but like, no, obviously no one's doing that for these old games. So whatever. That's it. I think it's good. And also for the comments, yeah, let me know what you think. Both of the formula of talking about each mode like this, like I did for this, because it was weird. But also, let me know what you think of Black Ops 4, what was good, what was bad. Particularly, I'm also pretty curious about zombies content at this point, because I'm mostly playing, pretty much all these I'm playing with whatever's like baked into the base game. I guess I had to get Zombie Chronicles, so I had more on that one. But like, which of the Call of Duty games do you think has like the best zombies, or if you want to rank some of those and stuff, leave that in the comments. I'm still very interested in hearing people's opinions on that, and why, particularly why you're saying that, because I feel like I see kind of a gamut of answers, but I feel like I wildly disagree with a few of them, and I feel like I've seen a lot of people just not mention this at all or say that it sucked ass. And I'm kind of curious also, particularly, why do you think people are saying the zombies mode in here sucks ass? I don't really quite get it. So let me know interesting stuff about Black Ops 4 in the comments. Have another last hurrah on me, on the house.